Brave international editor Isabel Oakeshott went to Libya last week for 4 days to take a look at what's going on there. This is a country, a benighted country, of 7.3 million people, in which there are 876,000 illegal migrants, all of whom are harbouring dreams of crossing the Mediterranean, heading north for the promised land, Britain. Vast numbers of these people are escaping the civil war in Sudan, the conflicts in Chad and Eritrea. 99% of Sudanese migrants who manage to get to Britain are granted asylum. So this is very relevant to us. Italy is giving Libya quite a lot of money for them to try to stop the boats leaving Libya. This is Isabel's report from Libya. It is a Talk exclusive. Enjoy.
Libya has become a major transit route for refugees and migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, and many of them come through Libya dreaming of getting to the UK, particularly from Sudan, where there has been a civil war waging for the last 2 years. And those asylum seekers or economic migrants who make it from Sudan to the UK have a 99% chance of being given leave to remain. So I spent several hours talking to immigration chiefs here in Benghazi on the east side of Libya. The Libyan National Army has a very good grip on the immigration problem, albeit fighting against a huge crisis with limited resources. There is a very, very clear process of giving people proper health checks, the life-saving care that they need, and then working out where it is exactly that they've come from. Their message to the UK is that you are fueling this problem. You are effectively advertising a great new life for people from sub-Saharan Africa. Why are you surprised that they keep on coming? They actually said, you know, what do you think happens when a guy from Sudan comes up through Libya and makes his way all the way to the UK and gets put in a luxurious hotel and provided with everything?
Beans, hash browns, salad, eggs, tomatoes, lovely.
What do you think that guy is going to do? I tell you what he does. He rings his friends back in Sudan, messages them through social media and says, guess what, guys? You know, you wouldn't believe the new life I have here. How about you come too? And, you know, what they said is often that is recruiting new migrants who had never even thought of making this perilous journey. And make no mistake, it is a perilous journey. We see it from the end point. We see the channel crossing as the dangerous bit. But actually where these journeys begin is in the hot desert. Many tens of kilometers have to be covered on foot by these migrants, and as many as 1 in 4 do not make it. That means bodies in the desert. The Libyan authorities are having to recover bodies in the desert. About the UK and how much awareness there is in this. So the message that they have to us in the UK is, please stop advertising your country as a great destination to go to, and please understand the scale of what we are dealing with here with very, very limited resources. Once again, you know, people come in from charities, from NGOs, they use warm words, and the authorities here told me the only thing that we ever get is maybe a few toothbrushes and some nappies for the babies.
Excellent report, Isabel. Really good. Now, when you were there, only just before then, in a period of 10 days, More than 100 people drowned when their hideous, overcrowded vessels sank at sea, heading out from Libya to Italy. And you just highlighted the tragedies in the desert. So this is a lethal issue. And in fairness to Libya, I mean, it's a troubled country, but they're receiving hundreds of millions of pounds from Italy to try and stop the flow, and they are doing their best. But the sheer scale of it, 876,000 migrants milling around Libya, all hoping to head north across the Mediterranean, is almost overwhelming, isn't it?
It's a huge problem that they're dealing with. And I want to start this just by making a confession, actually. Well, really two confessions. The first is that you kindly called me brave for going to Libya. And the truth is I got myself into quite a lather about it. You know, I was very, very anxious about going to Libya because it does have a reputation as being very, very dangerous. And I traveled there against Foreign Office advice, with all the implications of that. It means very difficult to get insurance and so on. Now, what I actually found when I got to the east side of Libya, Benghazi was somewhere that's remarkably stable and actually rather an exciting place. You know, very, very positive, lots of good things going on there. So that's confession number one. Libya is not a scary place on the east side where I was. It's under good management. Confession number two, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will relate to this. When left-wingers, and it usually is left-wingers, talk about solving our migrant crisis upstream, when they start going on about how we've got to look at what happens in Africa, I've generally just zoned out at that. I've thought to myself, come on, guys, you know, we can't fix Africa. You know, you seriously saying this is a solution to throw money at Africa? That is ridiculous. We can't sort the civil war in Sudan. We can't sort out what's going on in Eritrea. But here's where I think I got some of that wrong. I still don't think we can do any of that. But I do think we can, at the very least, support and recognise what countries that are right on the front line before sub-Saharan Africans actually get across the ocean and get to Europe. We can support what those countries are doing to try to stop the boats or detain people at their own borders down there in the desert. And what has happened in Libya is it's become a massive transit route from countries all through sub-Saharan Africa trying to get to Europe. And of course, the dream is to get to the UK. So it is in our interest to help the Libyans, and particularly I'm going on about the East because that is the stable side of the country. The West is a bit of a basket case. I've not been there, so I can't attest to this, but it's said to be extremely genuinely dangerous. A lot of warring militias there. On the east, under the Libyan National Army, run by the Haftar family, that is in good shape. And they are doing what they can with limited resources. I'm not sure actually they get hundreds of millions from the Italians. They may get a little bit from the EU, but they don't get much at all. But here's what they do. You know, we throw hundreds of millions at the French, literally hundreds of millions at the French, who have never stopped and turned around a single boat. The French do that. And yet here are the Libyans who are quite happy to turn back the boats. That is what they do. The Coast Guard, the Navy, I interviewed the naval chiefs, I interviewed the Coast Guard. This is what they set out to do. They actually stop the boats. And yet we're not recognizing that. We're not helping them stop the boats. We're not helping them with the kit they need, you know, because of historic sanctions, which I'm sure are justified, certainly on the west side, but affect the whole country. They can't actually even get spare parts for their boats. They're not allowed to import anything that could be used for a military purpose. So they're trying to fight this crisis, this massive flow of people heading up, using Libya as a corridor, with their hands tied behind their back. So this is why Reform UK has said, actually, you know what, we'd work with the Libyans. We'll work with anybody that can help the UK solve the crisis. And by their side, on the authorities in the East are very open to working with us. And these are the kind of pragmatic deals that I think a future government should be looking at. Forget the French. The French are not helping us,
True.
are they? Be a bit more creative here and work with countries that actually are prepared to deport and detain and stop boats.
Well said, well said. Perhaps that's where we should, instead of giving £500 million to the French, in fact more than that over the years, best part of £700 million to stop the boats, which they don't do. How about we take some of that money, give it to countries like Libya, particularly Libya, who have the will and the resolve to actually do this job, whereas the French don't. So let's be more international. Let's look further afield from where we can stop the flow. You know, almighty rivers start from tiny springs, the Amazon, the Nile, etc. That's the same. That's an analogy for the migrant crisis. They start in little villages in Eritrea, in Chad, in Sudan, and they grow and they grow and they grow, and by the time they're in Libya there's nearly 1 million of them, and they all want to come our way. So yeah, let's go to the source of the problem. Good idea. Great report, Isabel, well done.